Just a minute, 1 minute. You can be more comfortable. Okay. This is why I can see. Why this is here? Why this is here? नहीं, ये क्या है? What? At this time? Why? Why? What did I do wrong? Why it has to harass me now? The conference. Okay, 1.3.84. 1.3.84. Yeah, but this no, we'll do one thing. You put your thing here. I will need to actually use this. Just give me a minute. And you could see the Digdarshini. Otherwise, I get confused. Mm, 1384. Okay, we have Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, let's resume. केवलं तन्महाप्रेष्ठ प्रह्लाद प्रीत्यपेक्षया किं ब्रूयां परमत्रास्ते गौरी लक्ष्म्याः प्रिया सखी. No, in both cases, the Lord acted out of affection for Prahlad, his most beloved devotee. But what more about this can I say in the presence of Gauri, the close friend of the goddess Lakshmi? Narada might like to hear more about the glories of Prahlad Maharaj. But Lord Shiva is afraid to arouse the anger of his wife. If he says much more in praise of Prahlad, he will doubtlessly fall into an ecstatic trance. If he then speaks too loudly, Parvati might hear what he is saying. She is a good friend of Mahalakshmi's and would not like to hear about Prahlad's being a greater devotee than the Supreme Lord's consort. If Parvati becomes annoyed, Lord Shiva worries she will react disrespectfully toward himself and Narada, and that will not be good for her. So straight from the commentary. The reason dictates that a newcomer to devotion service like Prahlad could not surpass the goddess Lakshmi, who eternally resides on the chest of Lord Narayan. Yet still, Prahlad received special mercy from the Lord to put him in that unlikely standing. When Brahma gave Hiranyakashipu the boons that made him the scourge of the three worlds, that made him hated by all of the three worlds, the Supreme Lord was concerned that his devotees not have their confidence in devotion service weakened by seeing their enemy allowed to become so powerful. To help dispel the Vaishnavas' anxieties and doubts, Lord Nrsimha, right after killing Hiranyakashipu, blessed Prahlad to become greater than all other devotees, past and present, including the residents of Vaikuntha, his personal attendants and his beloved consort Lakshmi. With this benediction in mind, Lord Shiva has said about Prahlad in text 75, there is a greater recipient of Krishna's mercy than your father, me, and other servants like Garuda, and even than the goddess of fortune. His name is Prahlad. He is famous throughout the world as the dearmost devotee of Krishna. This is also straight from the commentary. Text 75 and 80 of this chapter, they are following the narration that is found in 7th canto. Etavrittam cha saptamaskandhe tadupakhyane vyaktameva. Very evident from the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in that narration. Tad anusarena eva atra Sri Shivena uktam. Lord Shiva's statements are in line with that. Evam kadachit Sri Bhagavad Ichchaya eva kathanchid tat siddhihi na anyatha iti gyayam. It should be understood that this has only happened by the desire of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible to happen. Thus, by the Lord's sweet will, Prahlad became the greatest Vaishnava, which would otherwise have been impossible. Sometimes the personality of God declares other recent devotees like Prahlad dearer to himself than Lord Sankarshana, Mahalakshmi, and other great personalities of the eternal kingdom of Vaikuntha. Other great personalities means eternal associates of the Lord. Here are some sample statements. Sri Krishna tells Uddhava, Na tatha me priyatama, atma yonir na shankaraha, na cha sankarshano na shrir, naivatma cha yatha bhavan. We saw this verse. Neither Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Sankarshana, the goddess of fortune, nor indeed my own self is as dear to me as you. Lord Narayana similarly tells Durvasa Muni, Naham atmanam ashase madbhaktai sadhuvir vina shriyam matyantikam vapi yesham gatiraham para. Without saintly persons for whom I am the only destination, I am not attracted to my own self or to my supreme consort, the goddess Shri. One reason why the Supreme Lord speaks like this is that although his eternal associates, Sankarshan, Mahalakshmi, and so on, are ever established in unswerving devotion, unshaking devotion, they underwent no tribulations to gain it, whereas his new devotees in the material world have sacrificed all comforts and security to gain pure devotional service. For the trouble such devotees have taken, Lord Krishna is especially grateful. Besides this, the Lord wants to encourage all his devotees to surrender themselves more fully. And to accomplish this, he emphatically praises devotees like Prahlad, who have taken great risks for his satisfaction. This is also straight from the commentary. One might ask, how Prahlad can be greater than Brahma, Indra, and other demigods? The demigods, on one hand, are frequently able to have the audience of Lord Vishnu, which is the final perfection of all spiritual practices. Sri Prahlad, on the other hand, associates with the Lord mostly by remembering him. We will hear Prahlad say about himself in the next chapter of Bhagavatamrita. Hanumadadivat tasya kapi seva kritastina param vigna kule chitte smaranam kriyate maya. I have never performed any real service for the Lord like Hanuman and others. I have only remembered the Lord sometimes when my mind was troubled. Nonetheless, we should remember that Prahlad does in fact see the Lord constantly. And according to the description of Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 18, Prahlad offers him incessant prayers on the planet Hari Varsha. This is well known. Prahlad's grandson Bali has also inherited from him the right to see the Lord constantly. And thus, Sri Vamanadev stays with Bali in his palace. Bali dwarepi dwarapala taya vartamanasya sakshat darshanam sambhave deva. It is certainly possible for Prahlad Maharaj to directly meet the Supreme Lord, who stays as the gatekeeper of Bali. If Prahlad criticizes himself for only being able to remember the Lord and not see him directly, that is simply dissatisfaction with himself. due to the humility that such a perfect Vaishnava naturally feels. Prahladasya cha tad vaktavyam parama sadhutvena vinaya bharat bhakti swabhava ja atrupti visheshadva. The reason why Prahlad Maharaj will speak like this in the next chapter is because he is the greatest sadhu and he is overwhelmed by humility. And apart from that, he experiences a certain type of dissatisfaction that is naturally born from bhakti. Itham purvokta yuktiacha Sri Bhagavad Kripa Vishesha Patratvat Tasya Tebhyaha Mahan Utkarsha Swataha Ghatate Eva Iti Dik. So the indication that is given here is by all of these reasonings that have been presented so far. It naturally happens that Prahlad has a glory which is greater than the glory of the residents of Vaikuntha, because he is an object of special mercy of Sri Bhagavan. Alam Ativistarena. Enough of this elaborate discussion. Prastutam Vyakhyamaha. Now we go back to the actual text. In some manuscripts of Bhagavatamrita, the following verse is inserted between text 84 and 85. Garbhastho yadyapi tvat yenopadeshena bhaktiman sajatas tadapi tvamcha tasmat sukham avapsyasi. Granted, the reason he became endowed with pure devotion was that you gave him certain instructions while he was still in the womb. But all the same, he was born as a pure devotee. And so you deserve to be awarded with happiness in the future. Why this verse is not commented? Just 1 minute. Okay. Tadgatva sutale shighram vardhayitva shisham ganai prahladam swayamashlisya mad ashleshavalim vadehe. Go quickly to Sutala. Offer Prahlad your countless blessings. Embrace him. And tell him I embrace him again and again. Literally, please tell him about my repeated embraces of him. At the time of Lord Shiva speaking, Prahlad was residing on Sutala, the third Patala planet ruled by Bali Maharaj. Therefore, it was possible for Prahlad Maharaj to directly meet the Supreme Lord. Tritiya Rasadale, Sutale. When Prahlad had come to witness Bali's encounter with Lord Vamana, the Lord had invited Prahlad to visit Sutala Loka and enjoy his own association there for some time. Vatsa Prahlada Bhadram Te Prayahi Sutala Layam Modamana Supautrena Yatinam Sukhamavaha Nityam Drashtasimam Tatra Gadapanim Avasthitam Maddarshanam Mahahlada Dvasta Karman Nibandhanaha. My dear son Prahlad, all good fortune unto you. For the time being, please go to the place known as Sutala and there enjoy happiness with your grandson and your other relatives and friends. You shall be able to see me there in my usual feature with disc, club, lotus, and conch shell in my hands. Because of your transcendental bliss from always personally seeing me, you will have no further bondage to fruitive activities. Ityeva Bhagavadagya, on the order of the Supreme Lord, Satata Sandarshana Labhaya Tadanim Tatreva Shri Prahladasya Avasthanat. Shri Prahlad Maharaj constantly stayed there on the order of Bhagavan so that he can attain constant darshan, so that he can constantly meet and be with the Supreme Lord. So therefore, he was there in the third Rasatala. Aho na sahate smakam pranamam sajjanagrani stutim chama pramadi syas tatra chet sukhamichasi. Unfortunately, that best of saintly persons will not tolerate our going down to him or praising him. If you want to avoid getting into trouble, do not neglect this fact. Nanu etadrishe parama bhagavatottame pranatireva yukta. Is it not appropriate that we offer obeisances unto this supremely best Bhagavata, Vaishnava of this nature? And then he says, Aho iti khede. It means oh in the sorrowful sense. Alas, unfortunately. Stutimapi na sahate, does not tolerate even praise. Tatatvam pramadi, anavahito mabhava. So don't be inattentive about all this. Anavadhanena pranamadikam na kutyaha iti arthaha. Don't inattentively offer obeisances unto him and so on. Lord Shiva wants Narada not to be careless and show any respect to Prahlad. If he does, Prahlad will become unhappy and refuse to talk with Narada or even see him. Nanu tadrishyasya pranamas tavanadi vidhanena eva mama santosha syad. Oh, but when I do all these things, when I offer him obeisances, when I offer him praise and so on, I will certainly be happy. Tavatad vyavaharena tasya mahatmanaha manodukhe sati. When his mind becomes, when the mind of that great soul becomes filled with distress upon seeing your behavior, paschat tadiya sandarshana sambhashanadi sukham na prapsyasi. Then you will not experience the happiness of seeing him, conversing with him and so on. Ityarthaha. This is the meaning. There is this 8.23.9 to 10. Let me just trace it out. Just give me a minute. Whatever. Krishna Chakravarti Thakur has noted here. Wait, first of all, let me. The reason why I'm bringing it up. These are the verses. My dear son Prahlad, all good fortune unto you. For the time being, please go to the place known as Sutala and there enjoy happiness with your grandson and your other relatives and friends. The Supreme Personality of Godhead assured Prahlad, you shall be able to see me there in my usual feature with conch shell, disc, club and lotus in my hand. Because of your transcendental bliss, due to always personally seeing me, you will have no further bondage to fruitive activities. Karma bandha, the bondage of fruitive activities entails the repetition of birth and death. One performs fruitive activities in such a way that he creates another body for his next life. As long as one is attached to fruitive activities, he must accept another material body. This repeated acceptance of material bodies is called samsara bandhana. To stop this, a devotee is advised to see the Supreme Lord constantly. The Kanishta Adhikari or neophyte devotee is therefore advised to visit the temple every day and see the form of the Lord regularly. Thus, the neophyte devotee can be freed from the bondage of fruitive activities. Krishna Chakravarti Thakur has remarked that this verse indicates that Prahlad Maharaj Right from the first moment when he experienced great ecstasy upon seeing Lord Nrsimha, from that point itself, he lost his connection with samsara. Dharmavanda lakshana samsarastu mat prathama darshana akhlada atishaya shane eva purvameva dvastaha. At that time itself, it was destroyed. Mad darshana mahakhlada dhvasta karman nibandhanaha. Because you have seen me out of great ecstasy, all of the bondage of karmic reactions have been destroyed. It is not that Prahlad Maharaj will in the future become freed from karmic reactions, because that was destroyed from the first time he saw the Supreme Lord. That also explains why, that explains how Prahlad Maharaj could be considered greater than even the residents of Vaikuntha in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, then we come to Bhakta. If you look at the headings, you get an idea of how of the proper hierarchy. Bhauma, earth, Divya, heaven, Prapanchatita, beyond the material world. Then we come to Bhakta. So, by the standard of Sanatana Goswami, a Bhakta is a person who's beyond material existence, which is beyond the heavenly planetary systems, which is certainly beyond the earthly planetary systems. Bhakta, the devotee. Narada visits Prahlad in Sutala Loka. Shri Parikshit Vacha. Shrutva Mahascharyam Nivesha Bhashitam. Prahlada Sandarshana Jata Kautukaha. Hridyanata Shri Sutale. Rato Chirad. Dhavan Pravishta Puramasuram Munihi. Shri Parikshit said, after the sage Narada heard Lord Shiva's words, which impressed him as most amazing, he was eager to see Prahlad in person. He at once, therefore, traveled to Sri Sutala by the path of the heart and entered running into the city of the demons. Chaturthe swasya mahatmyam akshipyoktam hanumataha prahradena yatha tadvat pandavanam hanumata. In the fourth chapter, Prahlad Maharaj talks about the glories of Hanuman. Like that, Hanuman talks about the glories of the Pandavas. Just as the Pandavas, just as Prahlad Maharaj criticizes himself and glorifies Hanuman, like that, Hanuman, he criticizes himself and glorifies the Pandavas. In this chapter, despite Lord Shiva's warning, Narada glorifies Prahlad. After refuting Narada's glorification, Prahlad in turn glorifies Hanuman. Narada then visits Hanuman, who also denies Narada's praise and recommends instead the Pandavas. The path of the heart Narada traveled is the mind itself. In other words, as soon as he decided, I want to go to Sutala, he at once arrived. So, let's take here. Manoyanena chiradgataha Sutale yamiti yada manushya kara. Manasya karot. Tatani meva tat prapta sannitya. Okay, that's already covered here. Tavat vivikte bhagavat padambuja premollasa dhyana vishakta chetasa Shri Vaishnava yena samikshya duratah prothaya viprah pranatontikam gataha. Prahlad, the best of the Vaishnavas, was in a secluded place, absorbed in loving meditation on the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Seeing the Brahmana Narada approaching from a distance, Prahlad quickly stood up and then offered prostrate obeisances as Narada came close. Without receiving information from his external senses, Prahlad, though deep in meditation, became aware that Narada was approaching. Yavadhyana yuthaya agre abhigamya grihyate tavadeva vega bharena prahladasya antikameva gatah san vipraha Shri Naradaha prapradena asana prothaya pranato namaskrita ityartha. Prahlad's meditation was exceptionally wonderful because he was meditating on the personality of God as lotus feet, not on some impersonal conception of the Supreme. His concentration was so fixed that when he became aware that Narada was approaching, he could not respond at once. By the time Prahlad stood up, Narada was already nearby. It's coming from Digdarshini. Pithe prayatnad upaveshitoyam pujam puravad vidhinaryamanam Sambhranta chetah parihritya varshan harshasramashlesha parovadattam. With some effort, Prahlad induced Narada to accept a seat and then began, like others before, to worship him in accordance with standard rules. But Narada, feeling great reverence for Prahlad, refused the worship. He shed tears of joy and tried to embrace Prahlad. Then he spoke as follows. Vipraha pithe datte visvayam nopavishtaha. He did not sit when a seat was offered to him. Kintu yatnat parama agrahena prasradena iva upaveshitha ityartha. He was made to sit by Prahlad Maharaj on the seat. With a lot of eagerness, Prahlad Maharaj made him sit on the seat. Because Narada was reluctant to accept the seat Prahlad offered, Prahlad had to force him to take it. Vidhina, in accordance with standard rules. Yatha vidhi purvavat arpyamanam priyamanam ityartha. So, like previously, everyone tried to worship Narada Muni. Like this, Prahlad Maharaj also tried to worship him. Prahlad brought water to wash Narada's feet and brought arghya and all the other paraphernalia for full worship. But Narada stopped him, being interested only in embracing Prahlad. Shri Narada praises Prahlad. Shri Narada Vacha Drishtaschira Krishna Kripabharasya Patram Bhavan Me Saphala Shramo Bhut Abalyato Yasya Hi Krishna Bhaktir Jata Vishuddhana Kutopi Yasit. Shri Narada said, now after so long, I have finally seen you, the true recipient of Krishna's full mercy. Now my efforts have borne fruit. From your very childhood, you have been endowed with pure devotion for Krishna. Such spontaneous love has never been seen anywhere before. Now my efforts have borne fruit. Efforts in studying the scriptures and so on. His effort to travel and find out who is the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. From Prayag, from South India, and so on. All of those efforts have borne fruit. Krishna Kripa Bharapat Pratta Lakshanani Vivranati. Now, he elaborates on the various characteristics of being a recipient of the abundant mercy of Lord Krishna. Abalyaditi Saptabhihi. In 7 verses beginning with text number 4. Balamarabhi yasya bhavataha ya bhakti purvam putrapi nasi. Such spontaneous love has never been seen anywhere before. Narada had diligently studied the revealed scriptures to learn about the Lord's most intimate devotees, and recently he had taken the trouble to visit Prayag, the southern country, and Shivaloka. Now he felt so satisfied meeting Prahlad that all his efforts seemed worthwhile. Notice that Prahlad Maharaj is the guru of, Narada is the guru of Prahlad Maharaj. And he still is not disoriented by that guru-shishya relationship. He's just trying to understand who in reality is the greatest devotee of Krishna. And if that happens to be his own disciple, he doesn't mind it. He doesn't think that because he is his guru, he should be the greater devotee. No genuine Vaishnava will think like that. Yaya swapitra vihita sahasram upadravada runa vigna rupa jitastvaya yasya tavanubhavat sarve bhavan bhagavata hi daitya. By virtue of that pure devotion, you overcame terrible obstacles, the thousands of outrages your father committed against you, and by your influence, all the demons became Vaishnavas. Yaya bhaktya. Prahlad's father, Hiranyakashipu, was the greatest antagonist of Lord Vishnu and his devotees. Prahlad insisted on joining the party of Hiranyakashipu's enemies, and therefore Hiranyakashipu tried to kill him. Because the Lord fully protected Prahlad, his demon father failed to kill him despite many efforts. So he gave a lot of trouble, thousands of troubles, which actually refers to unlimited trouble. Techokta Saptamaskandhe. This has been described in the 7th canto. This is related in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prayasepa hate tasmin daityendra. One minute. Typing mistake. Prayasepa hate tasmin daityendra parishankitaha chakara tad madhopayan nirbandhena yudhishthira diggajair dandashukendrair abhichara vapatanai mayabhi sannirodhaischa garadhanair abhojanai hima vaivagni salilai parvata kramanairapi. He should be recognized as the godfather of all terrorists. My dear King Yudhishthira, when all the attempts of the demons to kill Prahlad Maharaj proved futile, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, being most fearful, began contriving other means to kill him. Hiranyakashipu could not kill his son by throwing him beneath the feet of big elephants, throwing him among huge, fearful snakes, employing destructive spells, hurling him from the top of a hill, conjuring up illusory tricks, administering poison, starving him, and exposing him to severe cold, winds, fire, and water, or throwing heavy stones to crush him. Kathambhuta, what were the type of disturbance? The disturbances were of which nature? Daruna, they were terrible. Mahabhishanatvad, dustaratvad, cha anyeshu kathina, ye bhakti vigna. For others, these were all obstacles for bhakti, because they were greatly terrible and they were insurmountable. Tat swarupa jita. Kinchidapi te kartum na ashaknuvan nityartha. But they were naturally destroyed. Lesser Vaishnavas would not be able to endure as staunchly as Prahlad the severe kinds of distress imposed by Hiranyakashipu. In the face of such torments, anyone not as fully surrendered and absorbed in remembrance of the personality of Godhead would lose the courage and determination to continue serving the Lord. But none of these tests distracted Prahlad from his devotional service. Anubhava, Prabhava, it is because of his direct experience, Bhagavata, Bhagavad Bhakta, and because of his direct influence Even the Daityas were made Bhagavatas, devotees. Being solidly fixed in Bhakti Yoga, Prahlad was empowered to preach effectively. The sons of the demon enemies of Vishnu became Vaishnavas by hearing Prahlad's instructions and even just by touching or seeing him. Athacha Naradiye Haribhakti Sudhodaye Dharani Vakye. Therefore, in the Haribhakti Sudhodaye, which is part of the Narada Purana, the goddess of the earth, Dharani Devi, thus glorifies Prahlad's special potency. Aho Gritartha Sutaram Niloko Yasmin Sthito Bhagavatottamo Si Sprishanti Pashyanti Cha Ye Bhavantam Bhavamscha Yamste Hariloka Bhajaha. This human world is now especially fortunate since you, the best of Vaishnavas, are present. Everyone who touches you or sees you and the symptoms of your ecstatic emotions will become entitled to take up residence in Hariloka. Krishna Vishto yo smritat meva matto nrityan gayan kampamano rudamscha lokan sarvan uddharan samsritibhyo vishnor bhaktim harshayamasa tanvan. While immersed in meditation on Krishna, you seemed to forget your own existence. Like a madman, you danced and sang and called out loudly, your body trembling. In this way, you spread devotion service unto Lord Vishnu, delivering all the worlds from the cycle of material life and filling them with joy. When a pure devotee is inspired by remembering Krishna, he sometimes behaves in such unusual ways that ordinary people may think him either intoxicated or insane. The word matta in this verse can be understood in either of these two senses. But behaving outside socially acceptable norms does not in itself make one a saint. Prahlad Maharaj was not simply acting in strange ways. He was able to free anyone who saw him from the sufferings of material life. The logician Bha Sarvagya is Nyayasara enumerates 21 sources of material misery. The body, the six senses, the objects of each sense, judgment based on these six kinds of sensation, and pleasure and pain themselves. So each of these is actually a source of pain. So he was able to, Prahlad Maharaj was able to deliver people from various kinds of pain, from various standard difficulties of material existence. The body itself is a source of pain. The mind and senses, even the objects of each sense is a source of pain. Now, the object of each sense refers to sound, touch, form, taste, smell. These are also experienced in dreams. They are embedded in gross matter also. But the sense objects, the objects of each sense, they also are sources of pain. Judgment based on these six kinds of sensation, and pleasure and pain themselves. Pleasure is also a pain because it is better to not experience a pleasure that is going to go away when you know it's going to go away. Describing Prahlad's influence on persons who witnessed his ecstatic symptoms, Sri Haribhakti Sudhodaya states, Shrutvatyadbhuta vairagyat janastasyo giraha ashruni mumuchuh kechid vikshya keyanamamscha tam leelayanye parehasyad bhaktya kechana vismayat janastam sankhasho pashyan sarvathapi hateina saha. Upon hearing his brilliant words, some people felt an extraordinary sense of detachment from material life and began to shed tears. Others who saw him responded by bowing down to him. Others were amazed to see him playfully laugh and simply stood in groups watching him. All these persons were relieved of worldly contamination. Prahlad delivered ordinary people not only by freeing them from unhappiness, but also by giving them the highest happiness of pure devotion service to Vishnu. Vishnur Bhaktim Tanvan Sarvatra Vistarayan Lokan Harshayamasa. Krishnen Avirbhuyat Tire Mahabdhe Swanke Kritva Lalito Matrvadya Brahmeshadin Purvato Pistavau Gham Padmam Chanadritya Sammanito Yah. When Lord Krishna appeared on the shore of the ocean, he placed you on his lap and caressed you like a mother. This is all in the form of Nrsimhadev. Thus he honored you, ignoring Brahma, Shiva, and the other demigods offering prayers, and even ignoring the goddess Padma, that is Lakshmi. Lalitaha. He caressed Prahlad like a mother. Chumbana, Alingana, Adina. Like he kissed Prahlad's face, he embraced him, just as a mother would do this to a child. Taduktam Traiva. That is stated in Sri Haribhakti Sudodaya itself. After killing Hiranyakashipu, Lord Nrsimha was still furious. No one could pacify him. The Lord's personal servants, headed by his wife Lakshmi, by Garuda, and by Brahma and other demigods, were standing at a distance, awestruck, too afraid to come near him. Brahma then requested Prahlad to try to appease the Lord. Sri Haribhakti Sudhodaya describes the Lord's reaction. Tatah kshitaveva nivishyanatha kritva tamanke swajanaika bandhuhu shanair vidhunvan karapallavena sprishan mapur matrivadali linga. The Lord, who is friendly only to his devotees, then sat down on the ground and put Prahlad on his lap, gently rocking back and forth. He patted Prahlad with his lotus hand and embraced him repeatedly as a mother embraces her child. Anadritya. He disregarded everyone else, including goddess Padma. Kripa Kataksha Adinapina Apekshya. He did not even glance at them. Samyak Brahmadibhyo, Garudadibhyo, Lakshmitascha, Adhikyena Manitaha. Kripavaloka, Lokana, Utthapana, Sparshana, Adina Satkritaha. Rather, he honored Prahlad by glancing at him mercifully, by making him sit up, by touching him, and so on. Thus, the Supreme Lord attended to Prahlad, disregarding the many other exalted persons present. Vitrastena Brahmana Prachito Yah Srimat Padam Bhoja Mule Nipatya Tishtan Nuthapyottamange Karabjam Dhritwangeshu Sri Nrisimhena Leedha. Brahma, terrified, begged you to approach Sri Nrisimha, and you fell at the Lord's divine lotus feet. And when you fell at the Lord's divine lotus feet, the Lord stood up and raised you from the ground. He put his lotus hand upon your head and began to lick your entire body. Tadeva saprasangam vibrunoti. That itself is now being elaborated along with some background information. When Lord Nrsimha burst from the pillar, he seemed so angry at Hiranyakashipu for abusing his devotee Prahlad that Brahma thought the Lord might be ready to destroy the entire universe. Swabhakta droha janita mahakrodhena samagra brahmandasyaiva samharataha paramabhitena brahmana prarthitaha bhagavad kopa upasamharanadi prasadam yachitaha sam. Brahma had prayed to Lord Nrsimha for his mercy to wind up his anger, because he was greatly frightened that the entire Brahmanda is going to be destroyed because of the great anger that has come about by injuring his devotee, by Hiranyakashipu injuring his devotee. Tathacha Prahladam Prati Brahmanaha Vakyam Saptama Skandhe. And in the 7th canto, that's a statement by Lord Brahma about to Prahlad Maharaj. Therefore, Brahma entreated Lord Narasimha to mercifully reduce his anger. That prayer unanswered, Brahma asked Prahlad to intercede. So first he prayed to Narasimha, but Lord Narasimha didn't listen to Brahma's prayers. Then Brahma asked Prahlad Maharaj to intervene. Tata prashamayo pehi sopitre kupitam prabhum. My dear son, Lord Narasimhadev is extremely angry at your demoniac father. Please go forward and appease the Lord. Prahlad threw himself at the Lord's feet in full surrender, but the Lord picked him up and showered him with affection. That's also noted in the 7th canto. Swapadamole patitam tamarbhakam vilokya devah kripaya paripluta utthabhyata chirshnya dadhat karambujam khala vitrasta dhyam kritam bhayam. When Lord Narasimhadev saw the small boy Prahlad Maharaj prostrated at the soles of his lotus feet, he became most ecstatic in affection toward his devotee. Raising Prahlad, the Lord placed his lotus hand upon the boy's head, because his hand is always ready to create fearlessness in all of his devotees. Brihannarsima Puranecha. Similarly, the Brihannarsima Purana states, Lili he tasya gatrani swapotasyeva kesari. Lord Narasimha licked Prahlad's limbs as an ordinary lioness grooms her cub. You can understand how much Narasimha likes Prahlad. Yaschitra chitra grahachaturi chayai utsrijyavanam harina param padam brahmadi samprarthyamupekshya kevalam vavresya bhaktim nijajanma janmasu. When Lord Hari, with most attractive and clever enticements, tried to offer you the supreme abode, you showed no interest in liberation, which is prayed for by Brahma and by everyone else. Rather, you asked only devotion to the Lord, birth after birth. Lord Narasimha offered Prahlad Parampadam, the most exalted position of an eternal associate in Vaikuntha. Parampadam, Moksham, Vaikuntha Lokam Va. The supreme position is liberation or being in Vaikuntha Loka. But Prahlad was not inclined to accept even this. He simply wanted to continue practicing devotion service, no matter how many lifetimes his service would take to perfect. The Lord tried to entice Prahlad with kind words, as Srimad Bhagavatam describes. Prahlada bhadra bhadram te pritoham te surottamam varam vrinishva abhimatam amapurosmyaham ranam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Prahlad, most gentle one, best of the family of the Asuras, all good fortune unto you. I'm very much pleased with you. It is my pastime to fulfill the desires of all living beings. The pastime. And therefore you may ask from me any benediction you desire. Nirnam Jivanam. Okay, that is already incorporated in this translation here. Desires of all living beings. Similarly, Lord Narasimha tells Prahlad in the Vishnu Purana, Purvataste prasannoham bhaktim avyapicharinim yathabhilashito mattah prahlada vriyatam varaha. Prahlad, because you have been offering me devotion service without deviation, I am very much pleased with you. Please choose any benediction you would like from me. The Lord also tells Prahlad in the Haribhakti Sutodaya, Sabhayam sambhramam vatsa mad gaurava kritam tyaja naisha priyo me bhakteshu swadhina pranayi bhava. Api me purna kamasya navam navam idam priyam. Nishankah pranayad bhakto yan mam pashyati bhashate sada muktopi baddhosmi bhaktena sneharajjubhihi ajitopi jitoham tair avashyopi vashikritah त्यक्त बंधु धन स्नेहो मयि यह कुरुते रतिम एकस्तस्यास्मि सच मे न ह्यन्योस्त्यावयो सुहृत् नित्यं च पूर्ण कामस्य जन्मानि वृथानि मे भक्त सर्वेष्ट दानाय तस्मात् किं ते प्रियं वद. Wow, how many times he's asking here? My dear child, please give up this attitude of fearful respect that your reverence towards me has produced in you. I do not so much like this sentiment in my devotees. Instead, just feel free to express your love for me. When a devotee looks at me without hesitation and speaks to me affectionately, my pleasure grows with every new moment. Although I am eternally free from all limitations, such behavior binds me with the ropes of love. Although I am unconquerable, my devotees can conquer me. And although I am subject to no one's control, I become their subordinate subject. I belong only to him who has shown his love for me by giving up all affection for family and possessions. And such a devotee also belongs to me. Neither he nor I has any other true friend. My desires are always automatically fulfilled, but I take various births in this world just to bestow on my devotees the satisfaction of all their desires. So please tell me what you would like from me. After Prahlad answered, refusing all material benedictions, Lord Nrsimha continued, Satyam mad darshanad anyad vatsan naivastite priyam ata eva hi samprites vayi metiva vardhate apite kritakrityasya mat priyam krityamastihi kinyacha datum ishtam me mat priyartham vrunushvatat. Yes, of course, my dear child, nothing is dear to you but the opportunity to see me. And so I feel more and more affection for you. But still, I would like to do some favor for you, even though you are already successful in all respects. I want to give you something. So kindly choose some benediction just to please me. How many times he's asking? Yaswa Prabhu Pritim Apekshya Paitrikam Rajyam Swayam Shri Narasimha Samstutau Samprarthita Shesha Janodhriti Chaya Swikritya Tadhyana Parotra Vartate. Responding to your Lord's love, you agreed to assume your father's throne. And as soon as you told Lord Nrsimha, and as you told Lord Nrsimha in your prayers, by doing this, you wish to help deliver all people. You are still on the royal seat, fixed in meditation on Lord Nrsimha. So this must have been the reason. You wish to help deliver all people. Considering the Lord's unconditional affection toward him, Prahlad finally agreed to sit on the throne of his father. He intended to use the vast wealth of Hiranyakashipu's kingdom for preaching. If he could arrange for the deliverance of everyone in the universe, Prahlad calculated that might satisfy the Lord. It certainly seems curious that Prahlad at first refused elevation to the spiritual kingdom, but later accepted a limited kingdom in the material world. But Prahlad did this because of a special hankering in his heart, his desire to free the people of the world from their distress. He did not worry that by involvement in politics, his own spiritual interests would be endangered, since he was confident that his unbroken meditation on the personality of God would always protect him. Thus Prahlad prayed to Lord Nrsimha, एवं स्वकर्म पतितं भववैतरण्याम अन्योन्य जन्म मरणाशन भीत भीतम पश्यन् जनम स्वपर विग्रह वैरमैत्रम हन्तेति पारचर Madhya. My dear Lord, you are always transcendently situated on the other side of the river of death. On the other side of the river of death. But because of the reactions of our own activities, we are suffering on this side. Indeed, we have fallen into this river and are repeatedly suffering the pains of birth and death and eating horrible things. Now kindly look upon us, not only upon me, but also all others who are suffering. And by your causeless mercy and compassion, deliver us and maintain us. So here, first regarding that, the other side of the river of death. What is this river of death? Material existence is like the river Vaitarani, the gateway to the court of death. In general, material life on earth is full of suffering, no less so than life on the subterranean realms of hell. Therefore, although immune to these dangers for our benefit, Allah speaks as if fearing the troubles he can expect in various births and deaths. And he presents himself as befooled, like most people who deal with one another either as enemies or as friends, and who are thereby bewildered in all circumstances. Prahlad addresses Lord Nrsimha as Parachara. He is situated on the other side. Parachara means one is situated on the shore, the other side. He was situated on the other side of the Vaitarani river, in other words, in the eternally free realm of Vaikuntha, expressing his own pain at seeing the suffering of other souls in the material world. Prahlad requests the Lord to please carry them across the Vaitarani to safety. He then further prays. Actually, a number of these prayers that Prahlad Maharaj offers to Nrsimhadev, they deal with the situation of the conditioned souls. Konvatrate khilaguro bhagavan prayasa uttarnesya bhava sambhava lopaheto mudheshu vai mahadanugraha artabandho kim tena te priyajanan anusevatam nah. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, original spiritual master of the entire world, what is the difficulty for you who manage the affairs of the universe in delivering the fallen souls engaged in your devotional service? You are the friend of all suffering humanity. And for great personalities, it is necessary to show mercy to the foolish. Therefore, I wish that you will show your transcendental causeless mercy to persons like us who engage in your service. This is how you have to pray. Here Prahlad addresses Lord Nrsimha as the spiritual master of all souls, implying that it is quite fitting for him to show mercy to everyone without exception. These are all special features of Prahlad Maharaj. For the Lord to deliver every soul in existence would not be a great endeavor, because he creates, maintains, and destroys universes as a mere sport, and even less difficult should it be for the Lord to deliver his own devotees and their servants, like Prahlad, who considers himself a fallen demon with one good qualification of being Narada Muni's faithful disciple. Okay, so I'll make a note here. This is 1.4.11. No, 26. Oh, it is 19 March today. It's 19 March. Actual starting mark is this 1.4. Oh, sorry. 1.4.11. Okay. Any questions? Very interesting. All right, let's continue next week. Panchakalpatarubhyasya Vipassana Divya Vacha.